Good morning, friends, and happy almost Friday. We're almost there. It's a beautiful Thursday here in San Francisco, although it was a little bit foggy. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to everyone joining us live on Behance, including Samuel, Adobe Live, which is the amazing Gus spot in the house. We got DJ Paco over here to the left, Flynn over there to the left. Samuel Van Dam, who's one of our youngest designers. I believe he's 9 years old. We've got Eric Sue, a lot of awesome regulars. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. I hope you're enjoying this Thursday and hope you're ready for day number 7 of the XD and Photoshop Daily Challenge, where we've been introducing Photoshop and XD into the mix to show that, you know, if you have Photoshop files on your computer, like we all do, PSD files, you can bring them directly into Adobe XD, open them up, and breathe new life into them. And hopefully over the last 2 weeks, you've really started to see that you can take your existing files and do something cool with them. Prototype them, add parallax effects, cool animations, whatever it might be. And there's Flynn in the chat, welcome. And Dennis and Christina and Sarah and Eduardo, Aaron, awesome, all these lovely people. And if you have nothing else to do today, or you wanna learn a lot more after this, we have a packed show for you. We've got, we have Dansky, Dan White, and Andrea Hawk coming up right after this segment. Here's the schedule right here. There we go, Andrea Hawk and Daniel White. And right after that, at 11 o'clock Pacific time, I'm gonna be back here with Chris Cannon designing design systems. And then at 1 o'clock, we got Johnny Vino and Kevin Lee, always fun stuff. They're doing some amazing animations. So what do we have planned for today? We have something fun. So over on Behance, head over to behance.net/daily creative challenge, and you'll see at the top we have the Photoshop icon, we have the XD icon, because we're mixing those two up a little bit. And usually we have a register button right about here, but because we're so close to the end, you can't register anymore. But next time, definitely hit that register button. But right now you can join us on Slack, and Slack is cool. Hop over here, we have, oh, we're so close, 9,938 people. I wanna get to 10,000. So if you're not in Slack, hit that button, join us on Slack, introduce yourself on the left over here. There's an introduction section, and have a good time. If you have any questions, if you run into any issues or any bugs, pop them in help or general. You can get design feedback. We have some great mentors, including Chris Cannon, who's gonna be with me. Design feedback and chat and announcements where we post all of the lovely XD stuff. And there's the URL up there, bit.ly/XD Slack. And hello to everyone who's just joining. Preeti and Anna, Ahmad, Maj, Alex, Suyog. Awesome to see all of you on this beautiful Thursday. So, what are we doing today? Let me scroll down here. Excuse me. We have our new challenge. We're on day number, oh, it's day number 8. I think I said 7. I lied, it's 8. Here we go. We're gonna rent a movie using a smart TV app. And if you're a fan of Behance Live, you may have seen many weeks ago, Michael Kotchenberger was right here, not here, other studio, with me. And he designed something very similar to kind of what we're gonna be doing today. So you might wanna go back and watch some of that because you never know what that might hold. Fun stuff. So you can grab the template, and if I hop over to Photoshop, but before I do that, I'm not gonna hop over to Photoshop. I kind of want to, look at some of the work that came out yesterday. So make sure if you are submitting all this fun stuff, use the keyword XD Daily Challenge, and that way we can search it on Behance. We can sort it by most recent, see all of your amazing stuff, and every single day we try to feature, 2 to 4 cool designs that really stood out from the previous day. And then tomorrow, after tomorrow's episode, we're just gonna go crazy, and we are going to show a bunch of different designs that came over the last 2 weeks. And if you have one in particular that really stood out to you as you were doing these 2 weeks of challenges, send me a tweet at Pinsky, and I will take a look at it, and tomorrow hopefully feature it. If it really stands out, we're gonna be trying to feature maybe 1 or 2 from every single day. So it's gonna be a fun episode. Now, over here we have Munjari. I'm terrible with names, I apologize. But this one was submitted yesterday for the Screen Time app, and I love the little elements he added, or she added, to this design. You have this cool little progress bar or little indicator at the top underneath the today, week, and month, and some really cool effects. But what I really like is right here, I kind of challenge some people to do that number counter using a mask. You can have automated animated masks in Adobe XD. And look at that go. Cool stuff. And over here, as they click on each one, not only do the charts update, but that indicator kind of moves as well. It looks neat. So I like that one. Good job. Next one we have Carolyn, and this one really stood out to me because of the presentation. And what she did was it looks like she probably either brought it into After Effects or Photoshop into a smart object template. And it's just a cool, different way of displaying your, presented work. A little bit of an angle. You can also do that. I have a video on my YouTube channel. You can do that inside of like an iPhone, a perspective or isometric iPhone. It's kind of cool. And someone is asking about the XD Slack, the URL. We'll take a look at that if it's not working. But if you go to behance.net/XD Daily Creative Challenge, you can also get the Slack link there. So, moving on to Natalia, who also took part in yesterday's challenge. And I love the colors, I love the gradients. And what she did a little bit differently is she added a few different ways to view your screen time. So you can see a standard graph. You can have one with these different colors on the back. And then you also have this bar chart, which is kind of cool. So it breaks it down hour by hour, how long you've been spending on different apps. So I think that looked really nice. So now let me hop over to Photoshop so we can get going with today's challenge. And if you haven't checked it out yet, today's challenge, and Natalia is in the chat. So I think that was her, right? That I believe was her. Yeah, good job, welcome. So today's challenge is to design and prototype a movie rental app for a television screen. You can open it in this PSD file directly in Adobe XD, add colors, content, and prototype the flow. Now, typically with television screens, for the most part, it's changing a little bit, but it's 1920 by 1080. And of course we have 4K in the mix now, but we're gonna stick to 1920 by 1080, which is the size of these artboards. And in Photoshop, there's a few different states. And in this state here, it's basically the home screen at state number 1, where you have some featured movies at the top, you have brand new movies in this carousel, and then down below you might have recommended movies. And you might create another artboard to illustrate what happens after maybe the user drags the content at the top across, or in that case uses a remote to kind of scrolls across, right? So you would have that state there, but it's kind of static. So using Adobe XD and bringing it in, you'll be able to very quickly create animated elements, and you can drag those across, or you can use time transitions or whatever it might be. And then when you actually tap on one of the movies, you would have this expanded view where you can see the movie title, the category, a brief description, a much bigger artwork, maybe even a blurred artwork in the background to get a little bit fancy, and then some additional movies at the bottom. So how do we actually make this work and make this look good? Let me hop over to Finder right over here. And here is that PSD file that is included with the template. And I did go ahead and download a bunch of movie posters. That's not included, but if you go to Google, search movies of 2018 or whatever it might be, your favorite movie, you can get those very easily. So this is a standard PSD file. I'm going to simply drag, there we go, into Adobe XD at the bottom, and it's going to automatically open up that PSD file, and that works with new files, old files, whatever it might be, just drag them in. And as you can see, if I zoom in here, I'm in my layers panel. All of my lovely layers, all of my groups, all of my text files, if I had any, and I do, would transfer over perfectly. So you can continue editing your existing Photoshop files in XD, which is great. And thanks, Van Dam. So what we want to do, I'm actually going to delete this. I'm actually going to delete a bunch of things because I want to show you how easy it is to create something like this in Adobe XD. I'm going to delete almost everything. Perfect. So we have 3 sections right now. And creating, back in Photoshop, creating this isn't very simple, right? Let's say I wanted to create this. I would have to duplicate this over here, duplicate this over, and then for each one I would have to bring in an image, clip it, or use the frame tool, And it's a very repetitive process, especially when you're dealing with areas like this, which have many, many, many repeated elements. So if I go back to Adobe XD, watch how easy this is. I have one single rectangle here. This is part of the featured section at the top. All I have to do, and you've seen this many times over the last 2 weeks, and probably even longer than that, is hit this lovely repeat grid button at the top right. Or you can use the Command or Control R shortcut key. Press that, and you've got these green handles, these white and green handles on the right and the bottom, and that will allow me, let me zoom out just a little bit, to pull this across either horizontally or vertically. So I can have, let's say I want 3 or 4 of these images across the top of my document. There we go, place that right there, and you can kind of see it, even though it's off the pasteboard, you can still see, it's difficult, but you can still see that they exist. And then if I wanted to increase the spacing between these, I can simply hover my mouse in between any one of these elements until this pink bar pops up, and then move it inwards or even outwards, just like that. I can do the exact same thing for this rectangle here, Command and Control R, grab this handle and drag it all the way over. I'll make about 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do one more, 10. And I will increase the spacing, let's say to around 32 pixels. That looks good. And then down here, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this, go into this group and paste it. And then move it down. Because why work extra if you can just copy and paste? Copy and pasting is great. Perfect. So we have that set up. That exact thing in Photoshop would take a lot longer. Now, how do we actually get images into these sections at the top? Well, it's super simple. And this is one of the reasons I love repeat grids, because it's so easy. So the featured section, I have these 4 movies, you know, large posters. I don't think I've seen any of these movies. I'm terrible. But just grab these images, drag it into Adobe XD. If I can grab it, there we go. And you can drag it onto any one of the elements within a repeat grid, and it's going to automatically populate it, which is great. The same works for these down here. So these are the new movies. Grab these images, drag them onto there. It populates automatically. Some of these images are massive. They're like 2,000 pixels long, but they just popped in there, no problem. And I can do the same thing for the ones at the bottom. Grab these images, drag them in, boop. It's that easy. So now that that's done, I'm going to duplicate this artboard to the right, Command or Control D, or I can hold down Alt or Option, drag it over. And I may want to illustrate what a drag effect looks like. So I'm going to grab my repeat grid at the top and simply drag this over this way. And that's really all you have to do. You have to design the first state, design the second state, and then wire it up. So how do we do that? So if we go to the prototype mode, because we want to drag the featured section at the top, I'm going to select it, either the group or the repeat grid, and drag the blue handle, which is kind of hiding over here. So what I'm going to do, let me actually move this artboard away a little bit so we can see everything. There we go. I'm going to grab this repeat grid, drag it over to the second artboard. It's going to be a drag transition or drag trigger, which is going to trigger the action, which is auto animate, because we want to see what, you know, we want XD to look at the differences between the first artboard and the second artboard and make magic happen. So auto animate, we don't have to worry too much about the easing for drag effects. Let me move this back a little bit so you can see everything. And now when we press play, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go, press play. All we have to do is hold our mouse down and drag, which is super simple. And we can even get fancy if we wanted to. Let's say we wanted to, this probably wouldn't make much sense in this case, but we can also adjust the masks. So if on this artboard we wanted the masks to change to, let's say the ones that are kind of in the center of the television screen, right? I can simply double click on this image here, even though it's inside of a repeat grid. I can make this larger, so we can focus on, let's say, the name Black Panther. This one will be just a little bit larger, just like that. Great. And then if I play again, you'll notice as I drag across, the mask of Black Panther is changing. You see that? It's kind of cool. Then I can go back to this one. Let's say this one was larger on the first artboard. Make that bigger. Make this one, come on. Oh, it is, I have it. There we go, slightly bigger. And again, all those masks change as I drag around, which is super cool. And you can have a drag effect on this element or this one down here, this one, whatever you want, right? So let's say, what movie do we want to focus on? Where is Ready Player One? I have it here somewhere, it's down there, okay. So what we're going to do, we're actually gonna move this down and we'll go to Home, drag this down a little bit. And we'll actually want to turn scrolling on. So we'll turn scrolling on for both of these. And we'll make these artboards a little bit longer. There we go. Scroll this down and it snaps into place. So now on each artboard, I can scroll down, I can drag across, and I can see all of my movies. And there's Ready Player One, which is the one we're going to focus on for the much larger one. So after we've done the drag effect, we're going to duplicate this downwards, and we kind of want to start moving things away. And we want to focus on Ready Player One, which is down here. So what we can do in that case is we're going to break the repeat grid, because what would happen is if I grab this and I drag this upwards, weird things are going to happen. We don't want that. So for this down here, I'm going to break this repeat grid. I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. Ungroup grid and ungroup grid. There we go. So now you'll notice that everything is the same, nothing changes. I can still scroll, but now I'm able to click on these I will be able to click on these individual ones at the bottom, and then we'll be able to enlarge them, do all this fun stuff. So in this case, I might want to click on Ready Player One, and let's move these elements up here. Let's move these, where do we want to move them? Maybe we'll just fade them out for now. We'll move hot off the press. Let's say we'll move it all the way over this way, decrease the opacity. Ready Player One will move, let's say up here, kind of matching the template. There we go, move that. We can even make the mask a little bit bigger. And then these maybe we'll stay there, but we'll take these guys over here and move them inwards so they match. And you're noticing those smart guides that appear to let me know that this is evenly spaced between everything. All right, and then we'll have, I'm actually, just to save time, I'm gonna copy these elements here, paste them, paste, there we go. Make Ready Player One a little bit smaller. Make this a bit smaller. All right, there we go. Ready Player One. And I do have over here in Google, thriller, science fiction. I have not seen Ready Player One either. And I'll just grab a little bit of a, synopsis of, oh, this is a long synopsis, okay. I'll just grab a bit of it. And because we are using an area text, it'll mask the rest of it that's not within this bounds. Great. All right. I'm also going to grab these elements that are provided in the template, rent and preview, paste them over here, and pop them there. Now, one thing to note, because all of this stuff here, the title, the description, and the buttons are not visible and are not contained at all on this artboard here, it's going to default and revert to just a fade. So let me show you how that works. If I go to prototype, let's say Ready Player One is the one I want to click on, and move this to the third artboard. It's going to be a tap trigger instead of drag, and we want auto animate, because again, we want XD to look at the differences between the two artboards. And we're going to do, let's say, an ease in and out, so there's a bit of a curve at the beginning and the end, and we'll do a duration of about 0.4 seconds. So starting from the beginning, we can scroll down if we wanted to. We can drag this across. The masks move really nicely. Scroll, and we can click, tap on Ready Player One, and it does its thing. Now you're noticing, let me actually go back and slow that down a lot, just so you can see what's happening. Let's go to 4 seconds. And again, because those elements did not exist on the previous artboard, they simply faded in. And you can kind of see that happening right there, right? Let's do that one more time. So it just faded in. And we may not want that. We may actually want them to move a little bit. So in that case, what I'm going to do let me actually put all of these inside of a group. I'm going to name this meta, copy it, and then go to this artboard here and simply paste it. And obviously we don't want it visible, so I'm going to move it over to the right a little bit and then take the opacity down to 0. And now if I press play and click on Ready Player One, you're going to notice that all that stuff, because it exists, it kind of moves in really nicely. And we can scroll, see all these other movies down here if we wanted to. And we probably need a back button. So let's go ahead and create a little bit of a back button. Or what we can do is we can simply tap on Ready Player One and it goes back to this screen. So we'll have tap, we'll have auto animate. We definitely don't want 4 seconds again because that was a bit crazy. Let's say 0.4 seconds. 0.4 seconds. There we go. Press play, Ready Player One. That's a little bit better. Now, of course, we may want to design this a little bit, make it a little bit flashier. So let me go. I want to change the background color of these artboards to like a darker color. I'm actually going to select all these artboards with my Shift key held down. And I can change the color of these artboards across my entire document by simply doing this, right? Now, of course, we have a problem. The text is black. Now, this is kind of cool. What we can do, because this black text exists on various artboards, we can go over to our Assets panel. We can select the text, press the plus button beside colors. This will tell XD that, you know, this black text exists throughout the document. And if we want to edit this, not just on this artboard, but on many artboards, I can right-click on it, press edit, and then make my change. And you're noticing that all instances of that black text, that exact hex color, are being changed, not just here, but here, and also on that hidden layer, that if I find it right over here, and we go to my layers panel, you're noticing it changed it there as well. So it's really cool. So even if you didn't previously add a color to your assets panel, you can add it later. And if it exists anywhere else on your document and you make some changes, XD will recognize that and make the magic happen. So in this case, I have a nice black dark mode going on. One more time, let's play this. Drag this across. Everything looks better in dark mode, doesn't it? We can scroll down, Ready Player One, scroll back up, press on that, goes back down. It looks good. Looks pretty fancy. And if you want to get really fancy, what I can do is grab the Ready Player One image. Let me duplicate this. Background. Might want to move it to the back. Make it nice and large. Whoops, I missed it. There we go. No, I missed it again. Oh, because I have featured. I see. Let me move that up. There we go. Now I can get it. And then just drag this across my entire document. Looks terrible right now, but if I add, let's say, an object blur, increase that, and then decrease the opacity just so it's a little bit visible. There we go. Now we're getting fancy. And who doesn't love a fancy television app for renting movies? Press play, scroll across, scroll down, tap, that background fades in, tap again, and it goes back. And if I wanted to, I can even reverse the process of my repeat grid, prototype. Where's my little handle? There it is. Drag this over to the first artboard, drag, and we have our final app. Ready Player One, and drag back. So there we go. We did it. We completed our challenge and we kicked off our challenge. Oh, you're noticing as I changed the black text, it also changed it here. So, you know, you have to keep that in mind that it might change it in places you may not want it changed. So use very specific hex codes. So that was the challenge for day 8 of the Daily Creative Challenge. I'm really looking forward to what all of you come up with. Definitely take this and do something interesting with it. Do something that maybe I didn't necessarily cover. And that's really gonna catch my attention. It's gonna catch the team's attention. And it's gonna be fun. And tomorrow we might revisit this again. You never know. So stick around. We have Dan White and Andrea Hawk coming up in just a few minutes. They're going to be designing an advent calendar. Dan's doing a lot of the logos. Andrea's doing some of the wireframing and prototyping. It's going to be good stuff. And I'll see you all at 11 o'clock with Chris Cannon, and back here tomorrow morning at 8:30. Make sure to tweet me at Pinsky with all of your amazing designs that you've created over the last 2 weeks. We'll see you soon.